Zheng was ticking along fairly for Zheng.
She turned down a chance to play alongside Venus Williams, and she did it on purpose. Just days before the biggest match of her season, nobody pushed her into that decision. No coach told her to do it. No rule in the tournament handbook made her do it either. She had personally asked for a doubles partnership with a legend of the sport, and then, with the moment finally in front of her, she walked away from it. Why would a 21-year-old give up the chance to share a court with Venus Williams unless something bigger was pulling her attention somewhere else? That question has been stuck in my head for 2 straight days. And I can promise you, by the time this video ends, the answer will land very differently than you expect, because this was never really about a doubles withdrawal. It's about a rivalry that has been quietly building for 3 years, waiting for exactly the right moment to resurface. That moment has arrived. Washington, D.C. The Mubadala Citi DC Open. First round. Not a final. Not a semi-final. The very first round. And somehow, this is the match everyone is talking about. If this is your first time here, settle in, because what you're about to hear is one of those sports stories that feels almost too dramatic to be true. 2 women, 1 court, a history that neither of them has ever completely put behind her. Let's start with the name that has been dominating tennis conversation across half of Asia for the last 48 hours, Zheng Qinwen. If you don't follow the sport closely, here's the quick version. In the summer of 2024, Zheng Qinwen stood on the Olympic podium in Paris with a gold medal hanging around her neck, becoming the first Chinese player ever to win singles gold. That same year, she had already reached the Australian Open final. Her ranking climbed as high as world number 4. By any measure, she was one of the most feared players on the entire tour. And then, almost as though fate wanted to test exactly how resilient she really was, everything began to fall apart. An elbow injury. Not a minor one. Serious enough to require surgery. Serious enough to take away months of her career, and, even more damaging, her timing on court. Here's why that matters so much. For a player like Zheng, an elbow problem isn't a small setback. Her entire style depends on an explosive first serve and a forehand capable of finishing points in 3 shots or fewer. Strip that weapon away, even temporarily, and she isn't just injured. She becomes a completely different player, trying to rediscover who she used to be. She missed the beginning of the 2026 season. When she finally returned in February, her ranking didn't follow her back. It kept dropping. By the time the Washington draw was released, Zheng Qinwen, Olympic champion and former world number 4, had fallen outside the top 100 and needed a wild card just to enter the tournament at all. Her results since returning tell the real story more clearly than any headline. It's been an uneven season. A quarterfinal loss in Athens to Barbara Krejcikova. A defeat that cost her a direct entry into the US Open. Now she's left hoping for a wild card there as well. Or grinding through qualifying, the way an unranked newcomer would have to. Sit with that for a second. An Olympic gold medalist, fighting just to get into tournaments the same way a player with no ranking history would. That's exactly where Zheng Qinwen stands today. A wounded competitor stepping onto a hard court in the nation's capital, hoping for a confidence-building win to carry her into the final stretch of the season. And then look at who's waiting on the other side of the net. Not a qualifier nobody has ever heard of. Not a lucky loser filling a spot. Alex Eala, Filipino, 21 years old. And right now, arguably the hottest, most dangerous unseeded player anywhere on the WTA Tour. Here's the part that should genuinely worry Zheng Qinwen, if she's paying attention. This is not the first time these two have crossed paths. 3 years ago, at the 2023 Asian Games, an 18-year-old Alex Eala stepped onto the court against Zheng in the semi-final with nothing to lose and everything to gain. Nobody expected a real contest. Zheng was the established star, playing in front of her home continent, chasing gold. What happened next is the kind of match people still talk about years later. Zheng took the first set comfortably, 6-1, and everything unfolded exactly as predicted. Then the momentum shifted. Eala found her rhythm, clawed her way through the second set, and snatched it in a tiebreak. The match kept going. 3 hours on court. Both players pushed to their absolute limit. In the deciding set, Eala actually built a lead, 3-1. She was 2 games away from delivering one of the biggest upsets in the history of Asian tennis. But experience won out, and Zheng found another gear, closing out the final set 6-3 to claim the gold medal. Eala left with bronze, and something else entirely. A memory. The memory of exactly how close she'd come, and exactly what it felt like to have a former top 5 player on the ropes. Fast forward to today, and that entire equation has flipped. Eala isn't an 18-year-old underdog anymore. She's ranked 29th in the world, carrying a red-hot winning streak into Washington. She just walked off the grass at Wimbledon, having reached the 4th round, a genuine career milestone, fighting through a draw full of far more experienced names. Her whole season has been a study in relentless upward momentum, deep runs early in the year, a final at the Birmingham Classic, consistently dangerous tennis on every surface she's touched. And now, heading onto hard courts, in the most crucial stretch of the calendar before the US Open, she draws the one opponent who beat her once before and never let her forget it. And here's where the story takes its first real turn, the one that sent Chinese tennis media into a frenzy the moment the draw dropped. Because this isn't just an unlucky pairing. Statistically and emotionally, this is close to the worst possible first-round opponent Zheng Qinwen could have drawn. A wounded former champion, still rebuilding her confidence, still chasing consistency. Thrown directly into the path of the most informed, dangerous, unseeded player left in the entire draw. It's the kind of first-round matchup that makes you wonder whether the tennis gods have a sense of humor, or maybe just a sense of cruelty. For Zheng, a loss here doesn't just end a tournament. It threatens to unravel weeks of careful, painful rebuilding right before the final Grand Slam of the season. For Eala, a win doesn't just send her to round 2. It sends a message to the rest of the tour. Wimbledon wasn't a fluke. She's no longer the plucky underdog everybody quietly roots for. She's a genuine threat to anyone in the draw, including former top 5 Olympic gold medal winning opponents. Now, back to that doubles decision, because I promised you it would matter, and it does. Eala was scheduled to play doubles in Washington alongside Venus Williams. 2 players from 2 completely different eras, teaming up and generating plenty of buzz on their own. And then, in the days leading into the tournament, Eala pulled out of that partnership entirely, choosing instead to funnel every ounce of focus into the singles draw. Reports around the decision pointed to her respect for Venus, and to the recognition that a partner deserves someone who can give everything, physically and mentally, something she couldn't promise while carrying the weight of this particular first-round assignment. Think about what that actually reveals. Not about strategy, about mindset. A 21-year-old, handed the opportunity to share a court with a legend, decided that opportunity mattered less than being fully prepared for one single match against one specific opponent. That's not the choice of someone who sees this as just another first round. That's the choice of someone who understands exactly what's on the line, and exactly who's standing across the net. Let's get into how this actually plays out on court, because the tactical picture here is genuinely fascinating. Zheng Qinwen's game, at its best, runs on early dominance. A huge first serve, a forehand capable of ending rallies in 3 or 4 shots, and a willingness to take the ball early and push opponents backward. If her elbow holds up and her first serve percentage stays high, she dictates every point from the opening shot. She wants short points. She wants Eala uncomfortable and off balance before a rally even has the chance to develop. The problem for Zheng is that Eala, as a left-hander, disrupts exactly that kind of rhythm. Her slice serve out wide on the ad court drags opponents into awkward positions. It opens up angles for her forehand that right-handed opponents almost never have to defend against. And Eala's game this season hasn't just been about defending well. She's been stepping inside the baseline, taking time away from opponents, refusing to sit back and simply wait for errors. If Zheng's first serve percentage dips even slightly, if her forehand loses even a fraction of its usual sting, Eala has shown all season long that she is ruthless about punishing exactly that kind of opening. There's a psychological layer sitting underneath all of this tactical detail, and it might matter more than any single shot. Zheng Qinwen has openly admitted that since returning from injury, stringing together consistent wins has been difficult. That kind of admission from a former top 5 player isn't small. It's an acknowledgement that the body may have healed, but belief takes far longer to rebuild than surgery does. Every single point in this match is going to carry extra weight for her. Not just because the ranking gap no longer favors her, but because a first-round exit here on a wild card, against a player who just outperformed expectations at Wimbledon, would extend a narrative she is desperately trying to escape. Meanwhile, Eala steps into this match with almost the opposite mental profile. Low pressure, in the sense that nobody expects her to lose, or blames her if she does. High pressure, in the sense that she has already proven she believes she can beat elite players and now has the chance to settle a 3-year-old score in the process. That combination, a player with nothing to lose facing a player with everything to prove, tends to produce exactly the kind of unpredictable, high-stakes tennis that turns a first round into the most talked-about match of an entire tournament. So here's where we land, and here's the full circle moment I promised you at the start of this video. Remember that doubles withdrawal? The one that seemed almost unnecessary, almost overly dramatic when the news first broke. It wasn't dramatic at all. It was clarity. Alex Eala looked at her schedule, looked at the name waiting for her in that first-round draw, and made a decision most 21-year-olds wouldn't have had the discipline to make. She gave up a partnership with a legend to give herself the best possible chance against a different kind of legend, a former Olympic champion who once had her on the very brink of defeat, and who is now, in some ways, fighting for her career the way Eala once had to fight for recognition. 3 years ago, an 18-year-old came within 2 games of pulling off one of the biggest upsets in the history of Asian tennis. Now older, sharper, and playing the best tennis of her career, she gets a second chance to finish what she started. And on the other side of the net stands a former world number 4 with a gold medal in her trophy case, and a body that has only recently stopped fighting her, desperate for one more piece of proof that the player she used to be is still in there somewhere. However this match plays out, it's impossible to overstate exactly what's on the line here. For Zheng Qinwen, this is about survival, about proving to herself, to her fans, and to a tennis world watching closely that a serious injury didn't quietly end her prime. For Alex Eala, this is about confirmation, about proving that her grass-court heroics at Wimbledon translate to every surface, against every kind of opponent, including the ones who already know firsthand exactly how dangerous she can be. 2 athletes. 2 completely different battles. 1 court in Washington, D.C. If you've made it this far, you already understand why this first-round match is generating more buzz than some tournament finals. It has history. It has redemption. It has a rising star and a wounded champion. And it has a 21-year-old who cared enough about the outcome to walk away from a legend just to be ready for it. That's not a footnote. That's the entire story. Drop your prediction in the comments. Tell me who you think finds a way to win this one, and why. And if this kind of deep, story-driven sports breakdown is your thing, so make sure you're subscribed, because the next chapter of this rivalry might be closer than anyone expects. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.